Hi everyone, for this video we are going over 6th grade lesson 32 of the Elevate curriculum. As always, students are going to be spending 5 minutes completing this sprint and reviewing it. If I were you, I would go over the 4s, 6s, 7s, 8s, and 9s because those are the ones that students typically struggle with. Okay, so for today's lesson, it's a 2-for-1 special. The first part is dedicated to comparing whole numbers, and then the second part is dedicated to writing decimals. In order to compare whole numbers accurately, it's important for students to remember that they are comparing place values from left to right. I would literally ask students after you say that, we are comparing from what to what, and let them say left to right out loud, okay? So in order to compare the numbers 4,389 and 4,372, we want to look at the highest place value to the left, which is the thousands place. What we notice is that they both have 4 thousands. It's the same value in the same place on the place value chart, so we can't use those numbers to help us compare. So then we want to go into the hundreds place. Same deal. They are both 300s in both of these numbers. It cannot help us compare. So then we move over to the tens place, and what we notice is that we have 2 different values. 4,389 has 8 tens, and 4,372 has 7 tens. This is where we stop, and this is the place value that is going to help us compare, okay? So what this lets us know, because we know that 8 tens is greater than 7 tens, in other words, because we know that 80 is greater than 70, then 4,389 is greater than 4,372. This language is very important because when we ask students to compare on DC CAPE, they may say why or explain your reasoning. Students have to remember this language, so I'm going to say the statement again. I know that 4,389 is greater than 4,372 because 8 tens is greater than 7 tens. Okay? So, with that same idea in mind, you are going to go ahead and model question A for students. Same deal. We are comparing from what to what? Left to right. Okay, what is our highest place value? 10,000. So where are we going to start? 10,000. Awesome. They both have the value of 1. Does it help us compare? Does the 10,000s place help us compare? No, it does not. What should we do? Move to the right. Awesome. Now we're in the thousands place. What do we notice? They both are 3. So does that help us compare? No, it doesn't help us compare. So what should we do? Move to the right. Now we're in the hundreds place. They both have 2 different place values. Okay, which one is the highest place value? The 5. Okay. What's the value of that 5? 500s. And what about the other number? How many hundreds do we have in the other number? We have 200s. Awesome. So we know that 13,272 is less than 1,000. Why do I keep saying 1,000? Sorry, y'all. Is less than 13,541 because 200 is less than 500. Okay. Second part of the day's lesson is writing decimals. It is going to be very, very, very important that you break down these numbers into 3 parts, okay? There's a part that's in red. Then there's a part that's in purple. And then there's a part that's in blue. So what's before the decimal point? We are saying the number that's before the decimal point, 43, okay? And then when it comes to our actual decimal point, we don't say 43 point. We don't say 43 decimal point. Whenever we see the decimal point, we need to say the word and. We need to say the word and. Okay, so it becomes 43 and then the last part is for us to identify the numbers after the decimal point. So 43 and what's after the decimal point? This number is 89. 43 and 89, right? But then we know that we are talking about place values, so it's important for us to identify what the last digit is in this entire number. So the last digit, or the smallest place value in this entire number, is the hundredths place value. The 9 is in the hundredths place. So we would say 43 and 89 hundredths. Okay, imagine that this 9 was not here and it actually ended in 8. We would say 43 and 8 tenths. Okay, or let's imagine that there was a 6 in the thousands place. Then we would say 43 and 896 thousandths, right? So for the purposes of this lesson, you are going to model that for students in question A. You are going to say the same exact thing, 2 and 413. 413 what? Since that last digit is a 3 and in the thousands place, we have to say 2 and 413 thousandths, okay? Students are going to have to write that down. So spelling will be a thing. Please tell them not to worry too much about their spelling. Can they say the number? So they will be doing the same thing. You'll release them to independent practice. They are going to be comparing numbers throughout this entire page. I do want to highlight question 6 though. So question 6 is unique because students will look at that leftmost place value first, or the first digit, right? And so for some students, they might say, okay, well, this digit is a 2 and this digit is an 8. So I know that 2 is less than 8. So I'm going to put the less than sign. That is actually a misconception. Students are not understanding place value if they put the less than sign, okay? What you can have them do is utilize this resource page and literally plug the number into the place value chart and see which number is greater. So the number was, where was the question? 29,005 and 8698 and 8698. Okay, so if they plug the number into the place value chart, what they will see if they are starting at the leftmost place value, which is the 10 thousandths place, what they will see is that our first number, 29,005, has 2 10,000s, whereas 8,698 has 0 10,000s. So actually 29,005 is our greater number, is our greater value. So the greater than sign should be there. And then students are going to continue to practice writing out numbers. Because the lesson doesn't place too much emphasis on expanded form, I'm going to go ahead and say that you all can go ahead and skip letter B and just push students to do the independent practice, because there were no other at-bats for expanded form within this lesson.